Hey everyone, I'm Jill the Wandering Stamper. I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. I have a little bit of a new view. We have moved our RV. We are still in Colorado Springs near Fort Carson. We decided to make our stay here in Colorado a little longer because we have that new grandson, and our son and daughter-in-law are also expecting. So we wanted to have a little extra time with the grandkids and the kids. So anyways, we decided to stay a little longer and enjoy the fall weather, and then we'll probably head south. But in the meantime, we're going to create a card today. So we are going to do a top flap fun fold card. It's really, really simple, and I will have all the instructions below in my online blog. So just click the link below and you'll get that. I'll also put a little fun template on there, so it's really easy to recreate on your own. So this is a great card. We're gonna make some Christmas cards and a home, kind of a welcome home to a new home card that I made for one of my friends. So let's take a moment to turn the camera down and we'll get going on this card. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so here is what we're going to make today, or what we're using to make our card today. We are going to make this pretty top flap fun fold. That is the card, but we're going to use a little bit different paper this time. But it's a super simple card to make. So we're going to be using some of this really pretty wild wheat ribbon. I feel like it goes really nicely for the holidays. It's not your typical red and green. We'll be using some garden green and old olive, possibly. The beautiful golden greenery stamp set in coordinating dies. We will mostly be using the dies in this, but my other sample I did a little more stamping. So this is really versatile. Now I have my dies in here as well. I put them onto a magnet sheet, but there are so many elements that you can die cut in this stamp set and die set. Look, I keep all my extras in here, but look at that die. Isn't that pretty? And then of course you can stamp and die, and it's got two-tone stamping, so there's a fill and an outline stamp, so makes your stamping really pretty. So we'll be using that. And then I'm also going to be using one of my favorite seasonal sets, and this is the Greetings of the Season. I love the fonts in this. They're very pretty, and it makes for a really elegant card. And even better than that is it comes with some great dies that you can use all year round that have lots and lots of tags, and these tags have a pre-punched hole for putting ribbon in them, and I mean, you can use this all year, so it's really a great set. So we'll be using that. And then on my first card, I used the, where is it? And I dropped everything. Oh, bear with me. On my first set, I used the beautiful Seasons of Green and Gold Designer Series paper. I love this paper. There's so many fun products. This is the Gold Mercury Vellum. Look how well that goes with everything. But this paper is so pretty, and it's got gold embossing on it. So I did my first sample with that paper and created this card here. And the dies that are in the Golden Greenery stamp set also cut out many of the images on the Designer Series paper of that pack. So it's really, really cool. And I paired it with gold paper. So on this new card, I want to do the same kind of card, but instead of using that Designer Series paper, I pulled out this vellum. This is the Graceful Greenery Vellum. It's super pretty. It has lots of, I think there's 4 different designs or 3 different designs. So we're going to be using this greenery and then these leaves, okay? Now let me tell you, there's a die that cuts out the greenery perfectly, and there's a die that cuts out both of these styles of leaves. So you don't actually have to stamp any of these images if you don't want to. You can just die cut the paper. So that makes it a lot of fun to use. And then I've decided to use some garden green paper for my card base, and then I've pulled some gold metallic paper as well to layer underneath my Designer Series paper. So that's what we're going to use to create the card. So let's go ahead and get cutting. So I will have a template on my online blog so that you have an easy reference when you recreate this card, but it is super simple. So you're going to use almost an entire sheet of paper. So you're going to want one piece of 8.5 by 11 paper. We're going to use 3/4 of it for the card base, and then you'll have 1/4 of it left over. Okay? So you're going to start out by scoring it at 5.5, which is halfway on the long side. So I'm going to score it. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this other score. If you want, you can just put it on 4.25 and score all the way down. I don't like to do that because I don't want there to be a score line in part of my scrap. So I will actually pull my cutting blade or scoring blade down to that 5.5 score line that we did previously, and I'll just score the bottom half of it. Okay? It's up to you how you do it, but I like to do it that way because I want to make sure that I don't score up here because I'll have this extra piece up here that I don't want to have a score mark on. Okay, so you're going to score at 5.5, which is the halfway mark, turn your paper, and score at 4.25. Okay, and it's up to you whether you score the whole thing or just score from that full 5.5 inch score line down. I hope that makes sense to you. Now the next thing you're going to do is put your paper on the 3/4 inch line, and I'm going to do this side right here because you do have some measurements on this side. So now I'm going to cut from the top down to that 5.5 inch score line. Okay, so because you can see all your measurements on this amazing paper cutter, you can just bring that down to the 5.5 inch line as close as you can, and then you're going to bring your other side of your paper over to the 5 inch score line or 5 inch mark, and you're gonna cut again from that score line up to the top. Okay, just like that. So now you've got a 3/4 inch mark here, and then you put this on the 5 inch mark and cut right here. Okay, so now we're going to put it back on the 5.5 inch mark over here, and we're just going to cut away those 2 sections. So I'm just going to score down to where I cut as close as I can, and if it doesn't pull away, that's okay, you can use your scissors. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm just kind of putting it where I started and cutting that away. Okay, so see, as you can see, if I would have went ahead and scored it at 4.25 inches, I would have a score line right here. So that was kind of why I didn't want to put that score line up here, because now I have this whole piece of paper that I can use for another card. All right, so now what you have left is this flap and then this. So depending on how you're going to put your card, now our card is going to be landscape, not horizontal, so, or portrait, sorry, portrait, not landscape. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this, and then we're going to fold this down, and that creates our card. Now, let me move this away for a second. So I'm just going to use my bone folder, give that a good press. Now, if you find you didn't quite cut it right or score it right, you can take your bone folder and just kind of straighten out your score line again, and then just get it even and adjust it. So, you know, you can't really mess this up. So there we go. So there is our top flap, and then here is our fold. So now that we've got that, we're going to do some layers. So I'm going to set this aside for a minute, and I'm going to grab my cutter again, and I'm going to cut a piece of gold at, whoop, got scraps everywhere, 4 by 5.25. So I'm just going to cut, I'm going to put this at 5.25, about right there, and 5.25. And I like to do it this way just so I get as much use out of this. This may very well be my last piece of gold. I might have to order some more. Hopefully I have another pack. But so there's our piece, and I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to cut the layer for the top. So for the top piece, let me see if I want to use, let me see what I want to use. I think for the top piece, we're going to go ahead and use a solid. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that beautiful Designer Series paper and pick out a pattern. I think I'm just going to stick with this because I really love this gold. And I'm going to use this on my base. Look at this. I accidentally tore it the other day. Oh, I was so devastated. So now we're going to cut this piece at 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. I'm going to see if I can somehow salvage this part. Is that going to work? So my paper is oriented this way. So put it this way. 3 7/8. You want to be mindful of your directions. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this away because I kind of made a mess of it. By 5 1/8. So we just went down 1/8 in size. And that's because we're going to layer it just like this. And it's going to go on the front of our card like this. Okay? So now we need a piece for the front. So I am going to grab this Regal Distress Patterns paper pack. I really like this. I think it's so pretty and it's got lots of patterns. So let's see. I think this would be really pretty. I'm going to use this. I think it's long enough. So this is going to be layered on the front here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my gold again. And where did I put it? I'm going to cut a piece of gold at 2 1/2 by 5 1/4. So 2 1/2 by 5 1/4. Okay, got this little blemish here, but I don't think it's going to show up that much. And then we're going to cut the top layer, which will be 2 3/8 by 5 1/8. So again, I'm just making it slightly smaller. So 2 3/8 by 5 1/8. You know what? I think I cut this at 5 1/8, didn't I? Nope, I did it right. Okay. So 2 3/8 by 5 1/8. So that is going to go on the front. See how pretty that is? All right, so that is that. And then we're going to want a piece of basic white for the inside. And that's going to be, or we could use very vanilla. I'm going to use basic white because this is white. If I would have used something else that was, because there is very vanilla in this, but I'm going to go ahead and use basic white. And that is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm hoping this looks to be 5 1/4. So love it when scraps work out. All right, so that is going to be the inside. And then I want to have a little strip of Designer Series paper on the inside. I think that'll be super pretty. So I'm going to grab this again. So we're going to pair a strip just like this, and we're going to put this at the bottom of our inside just to make it pretty. So I'm going to do a piece of this 1 by 4. This is Garden Green. I'm going to cut 1 by 4. Just like that. And then I'm going to cut a piece of this 3/4 inches by 4. So just slightly smaller. I'm still trying to find a way to use this piece. I think I can get away with this. So let's cut this away just because I gotta get rid of it. It's driving me nuts. All right. And 3/4 inches. I just want it to be a little bit smaller so there's a little narrow margin around it. Oh, and I was able to avoid that tear, so that's good. Don't you hate when you accidentally tear a piece of paper? Ugh. So that is going to fit like that, and it's going to go at the bottom of our card. All right, so that's it for that. So now it's just building our card and doing some stamping. So let's go ahead and choose something to stamp on the inside. So I'm going to move this out of the way and we'll do our stamping. This is where the greetings of the season comes in. So I think I'm going to put Happy Holidays on the front. I could use the Season's Greetings as well. Maybe I'll use Season's Greetings. That's what I used before. It is really pretty. So let's do It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year for the inside. So I am just going to pull that off. Grab our garden green. Grab a stamp block. Okay. When you use the dies to cut out your designer series paper too, you really don't have to do a whole lot of stamping, which is nice. So if you're in a big hurry, this is a great way to do it. If you kind of want to crank out the card really fast, use the dies to your advantage. I am standing up, so I'm going to see if I can get this straight by standing up. Let's get it right in the middle. Oh, I did it. Okay. Love when that works out. All right, my husband moved my bag. Basically sitting where he eats breakfast, so sometimes he moves my little tote bag. It has all my tools. All right, just cleaning off my stamp pad before I forget about it. So there's the front, or the inside. So let's go ahead and we'll glue this piece on so it is out of the way. And that's it. I've got to grab my bag. That he had moved it. Okay. Forgot to get my glue out, but this is my trusty glue press. Let's get that out. All right, so all I'm going to do is get a little glue down here. Can't wait to show you the other samples. This was a lot of fun to play with. I can see myself using this fun fold a lot. This is a fun one. Alright, so what I did was just centered that. The edges all line up. So now that that's done, I'll go ahead and add some glue to the back. And then I'm just lining that up with the bottom, just like that. And because our card base is the same garden green, it'll all come together nicely. So that's the inside of our card. So I'm going to set that aside. And now we're going to start working on the rest of it. So make sure if you use directional paper, your paper is the right way. Even the back is pretty. I love this paper. It's so gorgeous. I have not figured out what I want my Christmas cards to be this season because I have so many cards that I like. I haven't figured out. I may just be making lots of different types of cards instead of one type of card this year. I'm curious to know if you make one type of card when you send out Christmas cards or if you make lots of different types. Typically, I make one card and that's what everybody gets for the most part. But this year, I'm having a hard time deciding what I want to make, so I may be making lots of different kinds of cards just so I can have lots and lots of fun. Alright, so that is done. So now I'm going to glue this right onto the center piece, making sure everything's lined up. Look how elegant that looks. And the beauty of this paper is we could also use shaded spruce, old olive, or garden green. All of those colors are in this paper, so it works really well. And I love the glam of the gold. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on this distressed specialty paper, distressed design. What did I say it was called? Let's look. Regal Distressed Patterns. I never can remember what that one's called, but it's super pretty. All right. So I'm just layering that, just like so. All right, and now we're going to put that onto the front of the card. Man, my hands are a mess. I need to paint my nails. It has been so dry, and I go through periods here in Colorado where my fingernails just raw because the air is just so dry. I'm gonna get to Florida and have the opposite problem. Okay, so that is done. Look how pretty. Isn't that beautiful? All right, let's go ahead and put this inside in. It comes together really fast if you already kind of plan out what you want to put on your card and what colors. Let your designer series paper do most of the work. This card comes together really quickly. All right, so I am just adding this piece, and I love adding this little bit of glitz and glam at the bottom. It just pulls it all together. All right, so now we want to start building the front of our card. And just much like the card that I showed you, I went ahead and die cut several pieces. So I die cut this shape here, which I think we're going to put one of our greetings on. Probably season's greetings, but maybe happy holidays. We'll see. So we're going to do that. And then I stamped 2 of these bells and die cut them. So I stamped them in crumb cake, and then I stamped the details in pecan pie to make those 2 bells. I tried embossing in gold, but I think I need to get new embossing powder. My embossing powder is probably 10 years old because it lasts so long, and it's not turning real gold. It's kind of turning dark. So I haven't been using it very much because it just doesn't look good. And then I die cut from that vellum paper these pieces. Like I said, you just use the dies and they match up perfectly. So I did 2 of those, and then I did these stems as well. Look how pretty. These are so pretty. So what we're going to be doing is creating a cluster just like that, okay? Now you could also use some of your garden green or shaded spruce like I did on this card and cut some more greenery to layer underneath, but I think that this is just going to be plenty. So let's go ahead and stamp our greeting first. So do I want it to say happy holidays, or let's just go with season's greetings, because I know how on camera I make you wait on me all the time because I don't get things straight. So let's just keep it easy. So now this would be really pretty in gold as well, but I'm going to go ahead and do it in the garden green. Make sure your shape is right side up. I've done that before. And I'm just going to stamp that in there. The nice thing with an oval is it's easy to make it look straight, because you know how bad I am at that sometimes. All right, so that is that. So now we just want to decide how what am I grabbing? I'm grabbing this. Now we just want to decide how we're going to build all this. All right. So what I like to do is kind of lay it all out in my hand first. So I feel like this needs to be a dark piece and a lighter piece. So that's kind of pretty. So I kind of lay it out like that, and then I'll flip it over and then start laying them down one piece at a time. Now I'm going to use mini glue dots to anchor my greenery, and then we're going to use a ribbon on top. So I'm going to start out with this piece, just stick a glue dot back there, and let's see, maybe we'll put it a little lower, put it about right there. And you can let those hang out, you just don't want them to hang past the edge of the card. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And put that one about right there. And then we've got our dark piece. And I'm just trying to mimic sort of a cluster of branches, if that makes sense. And then last but not least, we've got this one. I'm trying to make sure I have it on the right side. Sometimes with vellum, you have to double check. Vellum can get tricky on you. So there we go. And then we want to add our bells. So we'll put those right there. So I'm going to do this one with the glue dot right here. And then I think I'm going to use, if I can find them, a dimensional for the big one. That seems to make sense to me. Grab some dimensionals here. So that way it kind of pops up a little bit, just like that. Okay. And let's see. Do I want to put a bow at the top and my season's greeting at the bottom? Or maybe we'll do the season's greeting up here. All right, so I know I'm going to pull in some of this ribbon. So let's go ahead and make a bow. I don't have my scissors out. I'm going to make this tails on this bow a little longer than I normally make. See how that looks. So let's cut it about right here. That looks good. What I'm trying to decide, I think we'll use a couple of glue dots, and I'm going to use 2 glue dots and anchor this at the top of the bells, just like that. So now we just have to find out where we want to put our season's greetings. I kind of like putting it at an angle. That looks pretty. So I think, since we have the bells popped up, I think we'll just use a little glue. Just like that. Now you could also put your ribbon through that hole, but I decided not to. So there we go, that's pretty. Now I'm just going to adjust that bow just a little bit. All right, does our card need anything else? Should we put some glitter? Let's see what we have. Let's see. How about I have some of these neutral adhesive back sequins, so let's add a couple. Put one here, and they're gold, so they're perfect. Maybe put a big one up here and a smaller one down here. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, that was easy, right? So here we go. Let's move some of this mess out of the way. So here's our card, Season's Greetings. Super pretty. I love this paper. I mean, look at the shimmer. And then you open it up and it says, it's the most wonderful time of the year. So we used that regular paper, but then all of these embellishments came from that vellum, which gives it a nice little soft look. All right, now here's the card I made previously. I used this really pretty pattern that actually comes from one of these sheets of paper. The backs of these papers are all like textures. So this little diamond texture went really well. And then I used the dies to cut out all of the embellishments right here. And then this is shaded spruce. And I used the same greeting. And then inside it says, may your holiday season be filled with warmth and cheerful celebrations. So really, really pretty Christmas card. I can't even figure out which one I like best. I like them both so much. And then here is another Christmas card. And this one is horizontal and opens this way. So you can manipulate which way you want your card to open based on how you fold your cardstock. So this one is going to open to the left. And I used let me grab the paper. This gorgeous, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Has greens, creams like vanillas, the cherry cobbler, and then a pretty peacock. And it is the Seasons of Elegance Specialty Designer Series paper. And it's just so pretty. It's so elegant. And it really, really pairs well with those distressed patterns. So that's a great option. So what I did is I used that very same cherry cobbler, and then the little plaid distressed patterns paper. And then the stamp set comes from my other favorite holiday set. Where is it? I had it out. And I don't know where I put it. This is RV Life in a nutshell. Oh, I think it fell off. That's why. Yep, here it is. It fell. Peaceful Season is gorgeous. It has all of your holiday sayings for New Year and Christmas. It's so pretty, and I love that it has your greetings and it has little sentiments to put on the inside. So perfect. And then it also comes with fabulous dies. I love the Christmas die because you can cut both of them out in different colors of paper and don't even have to stamp Christmas. And then all of these pieces have little slits so you can feed ribbon through them. And then I love these little banners. And then you've got these other pieces, and again they have the little slits for ribbon. So really well thought out die set. This is a really good Christmas set to have. So that is what I used. And I just stamped Mary and cut that out and then layered it onto the little ribbon tag and then cut my Christmas out. And then I added some distressed white ribbon right here, and I fed it through and just pinned it in place with a glue dot. And then in the inside it opens up. I use that same strip, and it says, wishing you all the things that warm your heart and lift your spirits. Another really pretty Christmas card, and I use the same sequence for the inside. Okay. And then this last card, I have a friend who just moved into a new house, and I wanted to send her a housewarming card. So this uses the Humble Home stamp set and punch, and then I used some Stylish Shapes dies, and then I also used a designer series paper from the Country, I think it came from Country Birdhouse. It's actually little bird feet, but it just looks like a really cool little piece of background. And then I used some embellishments, and I can't remember what those are called. I'll have to list those in my blog. So I put welcome home, and I punched out, I stamped the house and then punched it out and then stamped the trees, and I finished coloring the trees in with a pecan pie marker to kind of fill in all of the trunk and everything. And then I used these little clouds, came from the Trucking Along, has clouds and it had these trees. So I used the trees and the cloud from the Trucking Along stamp set to kind of build this scene. And then I used some twine and I just wrapped it around 3 times and then put a little knot on top, and then I just frayed the knot to unravel the ribbon a little to make it look rustic. And then in the inside it says from our house to yours, and then I stamped a little heart over it in crumb cake. So really pretty little housewarming card, and I can't wait to send it to my friend. I've actually known her since middle school, so it's really fun to stay in touch with people that you've known your whole life. So there are 4 cards. Don't forget to click on my link below to get to my blog. There'll be a little template on how to cut and score the base, and then I'll also list all of the supplies that I used to make this card. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the like and subscribe below, and let me know what you think of these cards, and I'd love to know how you send your Christmas cards every year. So until we see you next Wednesday, I hope you have a fabulous week. I hope you get a chance to craft today and have a fabulous rest of the day. I'll see you soon. Bye.